DDM 2022.06 sees some nice enhancements to the import tool. I'm going to load the import facility here, DDM Data Import. I'm going to log in as the administrator, or if you log in as a user, you need to be in the special import group before you can run this tool. I'm going to accept the import liability. And I'm going to choose to import Solidworks data on this occasion. This enhancement means that we can support the importing of Solidworks configurations at a single level and also Creo family tables at a single level. So there's two enhancements that are covered under this demonstration, but I shall use Solidworks as the CAD tool to demonstrate. The process is exactly the same. So I'm going to choose to use Solidworks as my example. We're not importing from any of the Solidworks databases. We're going to import from the file system. And I've got a sample file here in this particular folder. Okay, I'm going to choose Next, Next. And we have an option here on this page to analyze family parts. So in the case of Solidworks, that's configurations, and in the case of Creo, it's family tables. We're going to analyze the data, and we found one file that contains 8 parts, essentially 8 configurations. So I'm going to close this dialog, and I'm going to choose to import the data. So this import tool is really useful whether you are a new customer to DDM, just bringing all of your data in, or whether you have an ongoing requirement for importing data, or maybe you run multiple CAD tools and you need to bring that data in as well. So let's select Next. We're not going to reserve into a folder. When I import the information, the parts, I'm going to choose to renumber them under a new number. You could leave it as the file name, but I'm going to choose to use a new number. This screen allows us to map the parameters against the model to the attributes inside the database. So I'm going to bring everything in as issue 1 and work in progress as a status. And I'm going to put everything into a particular path, and I'm going to assign everything to the concurrent systems business unit. Okay, so this is for the parts, i.e. the parent part, the default configuration, and then we also can map the parameters for the individual configurations. We've got a couple of options here where we can make the first configuration the default. We can also create a default configuration in addition, or don't create a default configuration. Again, we can map the parameters between the CAD models and the database attributes. Again, I need to fill in, we're going to bring it in against this business unit. So I'm now going to choose Next and start the import. There's only one file, but there are a number of configurations against that file. So the import is now complete. And if I close the import tool, we're going to go back to DDM. We're going to search all items. I'm going to go to the form-based search and search for anything created on or after today. Okay, so here we now have the imported default configuration, and these are my 8 or 9, yeah, my configurations of that default configuration. And you can see in my case I've got a slightly different icon to identify what is a configuration as opposed to the default configuration. Now I'm actually going to call this from Solidworks, okay, and I'm going to load in fact before I load the default configuration, I'm going to reserve all of these items to my workbench. I'm going to load the default configuration just to show that it's all worked. So here we have the default configuration. If I look in here, we've got all of the things with part number and descriptions against them. Okay, I'm going to choose to save all configurations. So it will step through and it will update all of the models. Dependent on whether you've got any neutral file creation options switched on, it will also do this. And it will finish the saving of all of those individual configurations. You don't need to do this extra step, but I tend to go in and check things once I've imported them. going to clear that from the working folder. If I jump back into DDM, there's the default configuration, and these are all of my individual configurations. Okay, so for both Solidworks and Creo, we now have the ability to support the import of configurations for Solidworks or family table items for Creo.